Today we are working on the 7.3 F450 here. We are replacing the power steering pump. I noticed a couple days ago steering was starting to feel a little bit heavy, and that really quickly got a whole lot worse, and then the pump started whining, so it's time for a pump. Now this is not an extremely difficult job despite what it looks like. Your pump is right here. We've got to take the pulley off. The pump will come straight out the back. It's really not that bad. Hopefully saying that doesn't turn around and bite me in the rear end like it sometimes does. All right, so getting the belt out of the way is going to be step one. It's really simple. Just take a 1/2-inch drive ratchet, maybe with a very short extension if you don't have a flex head. Just another reason I love flex head ratchets. But take the pressure off the tensioner, the belt will come loose. Take the belt off, whatever pulley is closest to you, it doesn't really matter. And then get the ratchet out of the way. Take the belt off the pump pulley. I'm just going to go ahead and lay it back over there so it's totally out of the way. A lot of people get intimidated by doing a job like a power steering pump because you do need some special tools, but it's not much and they don't have to be expensive. This, I bought this at, I don't know, I bought this probably 15 years ago at a cheap tool store of some kind. It is certainly not the highest quality steering puller, but it works. You'll have a little threaded deal like this, a little adapter like this. I'll show you here. I broke the adapter. This is probably the 5th or 6th time I've used this exact puller to do a 7.3 power steering pump. But the adapters it came with have the threads on one side to go into the puller mechanism. Then they have a little hex where you can grab it with a wrench, and then this other side threads into the pump itself. The front of that shaft has a threaded hole. I feel like I broke the one that I was using for the 7.3, but it's a 5/16 bolt. So I just took a coarse 5/16 bolt and cut the head off, and I thread one end of that into my puller body. Then there's this bit here that moves up and down the threaded rod. This is what actually does the pulling. And then you've got these two little half moon deals, and if you look here, is that right? That's right, but it doesn't show you what I want to show you. See, this has a half circle on each side, and as you can tell there, this side is smaller than this side. So when you're actually using this, you'll put it together the proper way so that the diameters match. But you'll have the big hole on this side, the small hole on the front side, and your lip on the tool goes in the big side of this like so. This threaded deal will be inside the power steering pump shaft, so you won't see it. It will not be in your way, so I'll just take it off for demonstration purposes. But with your puller clamped in there like that, the front of the power steering pump pulley has a groove on it. It goes in here. You put this collar on top. It'll have a metal ring or some sort of device that slides over it to hold this whole thing together while you're putting tension on it. But then you'll unscrew this part here that unscrew that. Basically screw this in, screw this out, and as this nut moves backwards along the puller shaft, it's going to bring your power steering pulley with it. I hope that made sense. Let's actually do this, and hopefully you'll see it a little better. All right, got the battery out of the way, got the air filter box out of the way. Normally I wouldn't take all this apart, but it's beneficial today for a couple reasons. One, you guys can see a lot better. And two, it gives me a lot easier access, not only to do this power steering pump job, but I also have been hearing a little bit of a boost leak somewhere. And this is a prime opportunity to check these boots and everything down here to see if any of them are the cause of this boost leak. There, was that it? That was it. Good deal. So in addition to supplying power steering fluid for the steering system, the power steering pump on these Super Duty 7.3 trucks actually provides power for the power braking as well. It doesn't have anything to do with the actual brake fluid, but instead of a vacuum boost, these trucks use what's known as a hydro boost system, and it uses the power steering fluid to give you your power braking. So we are going to flush this system out once we get done here, just to make sure everything is super clean. I don't have to take this intercooler pipe out, but I'm going to. The space would be beneficial, and it's just another opportunity to look at these boots and clamps and everything a lot more closely. If I didn't feel like it was leaking, I wouldn't be as inclined, but I really, I'm chasing a boost leak somewhere. Alright, so we're getting ready to put the pulley back on, and this is going to use a slightly different puller pusher setup than what we had to take it off. You'll thread the stub and the threaded part of the puller back into place, then you will slide the pulley in. When you're doing your pulley, pay attention. One side is flat, the other side has the little lip you grab to remove it. Make sure the lip you grab to remove it is facing out. Otherwise, you're going to cause some problems. Then there's a little bearing that goes on. Then there's a little washer that goes on. Then the threaded nut piece goes in place. Try to start your pulley as square as you can. If it's a little off, it's not the end of the world, but you don't want it super out of whack. Let's back this off and look. Is it on? Okay, it is on. Good. I can live with that then. All right. So with our pump in, our bottom line is connected. Now we need to connect the pressure line that goes up to the Hydro Boost, and it's the one that has this little Teflon seal on it. These Teflon seals are really notorious. You'd think I would stop sticking my hand in there in a minute. These Teflon seals are kind of notorious for being really hard and prone to cracking and breaking and being destroyed while you're installing them. So one thing you can do that occasionally helps a little bit is to let the seal soak in some warm water for a few minutes. This one's still not pliable enough, I don't think. All right, got our pump in. I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of fluid in it. I'm not really worried about the level. I just don't want to start it up dry. We're gonna flush it, so we're gonna be running a lot more through here. So if I get it over full, that's really not gonna hurt anything. So it doesn't look like the charge air leak, the intercooler leak I'm hearing had anything to do with this particular piece of tubing or boots that we had off. So I'm gonna end up having to pressure test the system. So if that's something you guys want to see, pressure testing the charge air and the intake system, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that video when it comes out, because I'm going to need to fix that fairly soon, I feel like. So over the course of replacing the power steering pump that went out, I've found the oil cooler is leaking for sure. It's leaking oil. It's not dripping on the ground yet, but it's going to be very soon, so that's got to be addressed. And I have low brake fluid. That could be something simple, that could be something leaking, but that's got to be addressed in fairly short order as well. And then we still have a boost leak somewhere, and I'm sure over the course of sorting out all of those things, we will find one or two more. So if you guys enjoy this type of content, fixing trucks and tractors and stuff like that, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It would really, really be cool. These battery cables that came on these trucks from the factory are not that great. They're not terrible, but on my 01 350 I used to have, I went through and made all new custom cables and made them out of much heavier gauge, higher quality stuff with much better ends than what Ford gives us. These are still in okay shape, but when I get around to running the winch cable and the other power cables, I'll probably replace them just to be safe. All right, let's fire it up. Everything out of everywhere that could get caught and cause a problem. Even though I know I got everything out, it never hurts to double check, because the one time you don't check, you might send a ratchet through the radiator. All right, so with our new pump on, it's time to bleed and flush the system. Now, you don't have to do a flush if your fluid looks good or if you've changed it recently, but with this truck, you know, I've only had it a few months. The fluid that's in there doesn't really look great, so we're gonna go ahead and flush the entire system out and make sure it's got clean, good fluid in it. It's really simple to do. You'll come over here to your Hydro Boost. That is this is your master cylinder. Your Hydro Boost is this unit right here behind it, and you wanna remove this return line. This return line goes to the top of your power steering pump right here. Take it off at the Hydro Boost. It is the front nipple right there. Stick a piece of 3/8 hose on it. I like to use clear hose so that I can see the condition of the fluid that comes out. Run that down into a bucket or some other kind of drain container. And from this point, it's really simple. Start the truck. While it's running, steer all the way to both sides, cycle fluid through the steering gearbox, press the brake pedal a bunch of times, cycle fluid through the Hydro Boost unit, and generally just cycle fluid through the system by steering and braking until you're seeing good, clean fluid coming through that clear hose you have attached to the return. Now, you absolutely can do this with one person. You just need clear hose routed around the hood or over the mirror, somewhere that you can see it easily. The difficult part is you don't want to let this power steering pump run dry at any point. So even though you can see the fluid coming out, you are going to have to get in and out of the truck a few times to check the fluid level in the power steering pump reservoir. I have help, so having a second person eliminates me having to get in and out 500 times, so yeah. All right, so our power steering pump is done, but there is a little bit more we need to do to the 073 here. We discovered the oil cooler is leaking while we were doing this power steering pump. That just started, that's got to get addressed. The brake fluid is low. It could be as simple as worn pads, or I may have something leaking. Whatever that is, that's got to get addressed. The 8N engine block, that is going to a different machine shop here, hopefully this next week. The forklift engine block should be coming back from the machine shop, hopefully this next week. So we're making big progress on those two projects that you guys are going to see coming up here on the channel. So subscribe if you haven't. Thank you for watching, and more later.